Hello YouTube, it's your boy VGH, and we got a wonderful deck list video for you guys. We're going to go with the deck list, go over what it does, and then I'll bring you guys some content as to the games that we got to play with it to show you just what the deck can do. So, we've put together Team Rocket's Mewtwo. Funny thing is, don't really need Mewtwo all that much, to be entirely honest. We've already brought this into 2 online tournaments, both of them having well over 70 players in the first one and 120 players in the second one. In both tournaments, we were able to get to a 5-3 record. Definitely, while updating the deck, I'm sure it can do much, much better, and I definitely think it does have a place in some of the top competitive decks. Do I think it's top tier? Close, but it doesn't really get there. I feel like it needs just a little bit more of a push to get to where we want it to go. Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX, obviously we start with 2 of those. Its attack states that you have 2 Psychic, 1 Colorless, which works really well with the Team Rocket's energy, giving it 2 Psychic or Colorless energies, or Psychic or Dark energies, my apologies. Plus 1 extra energy allows it to attack for a base 160 that can add an extra 120, 60 energy per energy you discard from your benched Pokemon. So you can discard and do up to 280 damage. Very strong. But the reason it's not like the big ace player is because you can single prize the entire match using the rest of the Pokemon in this list. Tarountula and Spidops, if you have a full board of Team Rocket's Pokemon, 2 energies on Spidops, it does 30 damage times the amount of Team Rocket's Pokemon, equaling out to 180 damage. Which, wonderfully, some of the top decks include Charizard, include Marnie's deck list with Grimmsnarl, and Zoroark, and funny enough, Cynthia's Garchomp, all weak to grass. So it one-shots literally everything. Sub a Cynthia's Garchomp with the power band that gives it to 400 HP. It can hit all the way up to 360 damage, one-shotting basically everything that has weakness to it. And if you can, obviously, Tarountula into Spidops consistently, you are able to give it its 1 energy it needs with Charge Up to give 1 energy to it, and then either attach the second one you need, or just do it the turn before, and then use its ability again, and suddenly it has its price that it needs to pay to retreat for free. It has the attack basically for free, and it gives you a whole bunch of energies on the board, which will make up our point for using Mewtwo EX to hit that 280. We also run the 2 Team Rocket's Mimikyu. The reason we put a second one in there, I know a lot of people are running one of, is because it gives 1 free retreat, 2, it gives an extra basic Mimikyu, basic Team Rocket's Pokemon for Spidops, and 3, most importantly, Dragapult becomes easy. You can use Team Rocket's energy to put 2 energies on it, and then Mimikyu the 206 damage ping, and if they take out your Mimikyu, you can do it again. But again, there are more cards in here that allow us to do that a little bit easier. Obviously, we don't only need the Team Rocket's energy. We can also use Spidops to get the Psychic energy on the board, since we do run Psychic energies, and then energy switch it over to Mimikyu and still manual attach 1 energy, and Mimikyu can still attack using Gemstone Mimicry to copy Dragapult. So we can do 200 twice, which knocks out Dragapult, and does 12 damage in total to the bench, which could knock out benched Dreepies, benched Dracloaks. You can still take extra prizes with it. We do run the one of Wobbuffet. It may not find super value all the time, but again, same energy count as Mimikyu. Take all the damage off of one of your Pokemon, Team Rocket's Pokemon, and place it to your opponent's active. So if you are in a matchup, say Ethan's Typhlosion, which we did run into, Ethan's Typhlosion's maximum damage is 280, and they can't one-shot a Mewtwo EX with a Bravery Charm. So if we get tanked into that, we have 50 HP left, but we can use Wobbuffet, take that damage off, put it back to our opponent, take a knockout, and our Mewtwo's at full HP, and we've already conducted that he will not be able to knock us out again. So it's kind of like a wall. Wobbuffet has its niche moments, but if Mewtwo can survive an attack, it makes more sense to put Mewtwo on the board, let it survive its hit, Wobbuffet to take the damage, and use it as a bigger attack as a single prizer to take out a double prizer, essentially. Articuno, again, only in there because it blocks basic Pokemon from the effects of attacks. So you can block Dragapult from hitting you. I feel if Dragapult loses popularity, you can probably sub out the Articuno for other Pokemon. Same thing with Murkrow. It has Torment, which is a very funny attack where it just says, choose your opponent's Pokemon's attack. That Pokemon cannot use that Pokemon attack next turn. So you just 30, and then if you lock something into the active, or if you get yourself in a good position, you can lock it while also doing damage every turn to say that they can't attack and just continue to set up your board. We do run Bravery Charm as a one-of. It's our only tool in the deck because it would only attach to Mewtwo, and you realistically are only ever playing one Mewtwo with one Bravery Charm. That's it. 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Transceivers, 3 Buddy-Buddy Poffin, 2 Earthen, 2 Energy Switch, Night Stretcher, Super Rod, and Counter Catcher. I will admit, sub out the Super Rod and add in a Sacred Ash instead. This will help you with winning those matchups where it becomes a single prize fight. Funny enough, like I said, a lot of matchups turn into single prize against single prize in these more recent events. Mimikyu's Gemstone Mimicry, I have found, basically wins you the Eevee Box matchup because you just take Carnelian for 280 to knock out their Flareon. You can even use their Sylveon's attack if you really want to. You don't have to, but it can work. Spidops can clear your Charizard, your Garchomp, your Zoroark, and your Grimmsnarl matchups. So, like, I still feel Spidops and Mimikyu do more work than Mewtwo ever really does. Mewtwo's, like, best outcome is one-shotting Gimme Ghoul? That deck. Like, I mean, Goldango, but, like, they can one-shot you back, and they take 2 prizes, and you can't really one-shot them to get a knockout, because you can't use Mimikyu to copy anything, because they don't have Tera Pokemon. It's, like, it's really weird. It's a weird matchup. Moving forward, 3 Ariana, 2 Giovanni, 2 Iono, 2 Proton, 1 Archer. Now, 4 Transceivers, 2 Proton, I have found usually will guarantee you getting a Proton in the active hand, like the first turn hand. It's highly suggested this is fine. If you're not feeling you're getting enough, you can always sub 1 Proton with potentially cutting either Energy Switch or I would say even the Murkrow. Potentially, I wouldn't advise it, but I feel like this works really, really well. It is only supposed to have 3 Team Rockets Factory. I didn't realize that when I'm shooting the video now. That should not be a 4 of. That should be a 3 of. The deck list will be in the description, so if you've been actually paying attention to this so far, I appreciate that. But you could also cut 1 factory, run 2 factories, totally fine. Secret Box is our A-Spec. Discarding 3 worthless cards and then hitting a Secret Box, which can get you, let's go with Ariana, a Team Rocket Factory, any item you realistically need, and a tool, which is the Bravery Charm, is wild because you can go Ariana, draw until you have 8 cards in your hand because you're only using Team Rocket's Pokemon, and then you can use the Stadium that you just also added to your hand to go to 10, drawing 10 cards in 1 turn, potentially, if you just use all the cards that you've just acquired from that Secret Box. You have no cards in your hand. You can draw 10 cards in 1 move. 1 supporter and an effect of a Stadium draws you 10 cards. Pretty good. Now, I'm going to get rid of my webcam source for just a second so you guys can see their whole thing, but 6 Grass Energy and 2 Psychic Energy is our full deck list. Like I said, the deck list will be in the description, so you guys can just copy-paste it. But I hope if you guys listened in, you did learn something about the matchups and a few things, and we're going to go right into the video going forward. All right, so these are a couple of gameplays that we had when we were playing the deck list out. This is a pre-rendered deck. What I'm showing you and what's in the description is going to be the more updated version of the deck after we've played in a bunch of tournaments. So it's not the same list, just letting you know ahead of time, but it still has the same concept and ideas, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about the deck list. So let's get straight into our games and see where we go from here. All these matches were done on stream, I believe it was Thursday, but I do stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, where we get a lot of good gameplay video with you guys in chat, or with whomever it may be around, or just online laddering, trying to get our, value points up. This was one of our first games of the deck, so there are a lot of mistakes here. We were still learning how to play the deck list and figuring out what everything does, so you'll see me, read Articuno again, what does this do? And you'll see me, going over things, taking a little bit more time. All these matches are sped up by 2.5 times, so, 1 full minute is just, 15 seconds. I don't know, something like that, 20 seconds? I don't know. But as you guys can see, this was our turn 1. We hit our turn 1 Proton, we hit our factory, so we got to draw extra 2 cards. Our whole board state is just set up. We got all of our basics. We set up Mewtwo because we thought Mewtwo was the right play here. But actually, after playing Eevee Box and finding out what its counter is, Mimikyu actually is the better variant of setting up. If I have the Mimikyu here, I could have put a Grass Energy on my Tarountula, use the Team Rocket's energy on Mimikyu, retreat the Tarountula, bring out Mimikyu, and using Mimikyu's Mimicry attack, I can take the Eevee EX's attack, which does 200 damage exactly, and knock out Eevee. Eevee Box is so free, and the reason we use more than one Mimikyu is for all the Tera decks, but more importantly, Mimikyu or Eevee becomes an automatic win in most cases. It's very hard for like them to counter me because they run the Eevee, they run Mew EX, which funny enough for us, Spidops hits for exactly 180. All of the Eevees and their evolutions, usually they go into Flareon EX, which has an attack that does 280 damage, and Mimikyu can just take that attack, slap 280, and knock out a Flareon for 2. So they put in all their effort to setting up certain Pokemon that we can just counter with a basic single prizer, which they don't have access to clearing our 2 prizer very easily. As you see, we actually did go into the whole Mewtwo in order to do 220 damage, knocking out the Pheasantipity, stopping them from bringing up a draw 3 just by using 1 Giovanni's, which states you can switch your Team Rockets your Pokemon with your benched Team Rockets Pokemon, and then you can basically switch one of your opponent's Pokemon out. It's a boss's orders combined with like escape rope, really. It's just double switches, which makes it so you don't have to worry about playing switch or worrying about any decks that lock you in, say using Maractus or Sob from Wellspring Mass Gogurpon, because you can just use Giovanni's to switch yourself out. It just works. Further from this, where are we going? He has the Flareon set up to 280 me. Again, this was a earlier version of the list. If I thought about it earlier, I would have tried to go for a Bravery Charm to protect Mewtwo from specifically this happening, because they don't run Jamming Tower, so you just put the Bravery Charm on and he would survive the attack, and then Wobbuffet becomes better in that instance. But we had the double Dark Energy. We set up Spidops for future turns. We're still hitting that 180. Hitting the Ariana to just go to +8, and I can still just Mimikyu to annihilate my opponent here. He brought the Pheasantipity back, so I thought the Mewtwo bringing that back onto the board made sense. We didn't run Energy Switch early, and so it makes it harder for setting up Mewtwo, so we didn't really need it here. More importantly, I think it would have been better if I put down the extra Tarountula, and gotten the extra card out of Ariana, but it's okay. My opponent actively used Umbreon EX in this matchup, and I thought that was really funny. Mainly just due to the factor of, even if he takes me out, he gets 1 prize. Otherwise, he discards all the energy, takes a prize because of Umbreon's second move, and it doesn't fix anything. But it's his last opportunity to do anything. And I'm just showing off the fact that we have Secret Box. So we're able to discard 3 and just do Ariana Stadium, just clear his, like my stadium clears his stadium, and I get to draw 2 extra cards if I play a boss's orders or Giovanni's. So my opponent can't do anything. He hits me for weakness, knocks me out, don't care, and then we just go, wait a minute. Umbreon Dark Pokemon weak to Grass Pokemon. So we just get down our last piece, and we hit for 360 because they're weak to Grass. Just another thing you can remind you about, Spidops is absurd for hitting 180 into 180 weakness every time. I will go first, that's correct. And going straight into this one. I haven't found a use for Murkrow as of just yet. The ability to 1 energy get any supporter is okay, but more importantly, the Torment attack is meant to stall your opponent because they can't use one of their opponent's Pokemon's attacks if they use Torment. So the idea is like Teal Mask Gogurpon Raging Bolt, let's say, where they have Raging Bolt in the active, and you would take away them using their big attack. They can only do 70 damage, I think, with the other move. No, it's a reset hand number. They can only do, so little without the other attack. So you stop them from using the attack, and if they don't have something else set up, they can't do anything, right? So Torment is like there, but it's not super great. We already got another Tarountula down, and we found out Tarountula super effective against Dark again. So Purloin weak to 30 damage. means you do 60, and you take out the Purloin. Funny enough, that is just how simple it is. And now I'm able to go through my deck. I set up for the future plays. I'm like, I want a Giovanni so I can get rid of the Impidimp if it doesn't evolve into a Grimmsnarl right away. Just clearing out the whole deck of a whole bunch of cards. You know, Bravery Charm makes sense. And now because I've used Secret Box and Ariana and stuff like that, I'm able to draw 2 more. Amazing turn, by the way. Ariana to 8. Secret Box discard 3. Get 4 cards out of your deck. And then Factory, draw 2 more. If you don't count the negatives of that turn by like discarding and removing cards you don't really need, you go into a plus 14 out of your deck in 1 move with a total of using 2 cards. 3, sorry. So my opponent has no out here. Really, they didn't get their stadium. They didn't really get any search cards. They don't have the rare candy to get the Grimmsnarl out. So I'm just sitting down, setting my shit up. And so that way, if Grimmsnarl does come down, we have a super effective knockout. I wanted to get rid of any opportunity for him to get that. So we use our Giovanni. We use our Factory to draw extras. And we just clear Impidimp. And that is essentially a game from there. But my opponent did not concede immediately. So the further on of this is realistically just Grimmsnarl showing up. And we wanted to show off that Spidops alone can solo many in most games. My opponent has nothing to draw, nothing to work on, so we're already set up. We're just throwing cards at the board until, you know, it works. Buddy-Buddy Poffin, by the way, it's an escape card where if you have Pokemon in your deck, you're able to bring them all out. So that way Spidops does 30 more damage times the amount of Team Rocket's Pokemon, so that's why Sacred Ash is so good. If you lose some of your Tarantoulas and Spidopses, you can still bring them all back to the deck, use your extra Buddy-Buddy Poffins that if you didn't use them at the beginning, you can use them now to bring out those basics so that way your other Spidops can still do big damage while also setting yourself up. We had another instance of Giovanni being insane, of taking their one-of attacker that they were holding onto and removing it from the game. So my opponent's just trying to stall me out, but I think only at this point only ran 2 Giovannis. We did run 3 for a while, but it was overkill, and then we went back to 2. So 2 Giovannis just seemed like the right level if you pay attention to how many Giovannis like you have. So we used Transceiver to look for another Giovannis to see if we could do it again because Impidimp hit the board. Unfortunately, we just didn't have it, so. But this puts me in range of, I already have Spidops set up on the bench. The Marnie's Morpeko over in the back row is obviously a single prize, so if he brought that up, it only has so little HP where we would annihilate it and move on. And then Grimmsnarl comes forward, and we wanted to show this off that 320 HP is fine, and Grimmsnarl is a very big deck in the format right now, so, okay, you have big HP, well, we have Spidops one-shot. I'm honestly trying to build a deck where we can use just solo prize Team Rocket's Pokemon, because we can use Team Rocket's energy on, you know, all of the Arbok line, the Coughing line, the Wheezing line, you know, all those guys, and then just use only single prizers, and then just bring in Neutralization Zone for a very funny list. Because, you know, Watchtower blocks normal Pokemon. None of them are normal, so there you go, Watchtower. You can run the other stadium, draw 2. Use your stadiums, your opponent uses their stadiums, you hit them with Newt Zone. Not a lot of decks have an out for that anymore, so. Let's go into our next round. Love it when my opponent lets me go first. By the way, this deck does like going first more than anything else because you have 4 Transceivers, 2 Petrol, and you're able to use Transceiver to go get Petrol, who can then, or not Petrol, Proton. Proton, who allows you to basically just set up your entire board on turn 1, and it's just so strong. And Proton also does this other nifty thing where it brings it to your hand, so you can use it as discard fodder for, say, Ultra Ball or Earthen Vessel. If you don't want those Pokemon and you know you're not using them for the matchup, then just bring them out. Oh, we also used Zapdos for a short amount of time, but that's mainly because I thought Zapdos would do well in the mirror matchup where you can set up Zapdos, move Team Rocket's energy off of your opponent's Pokemon, and put it somewhere else. But I found very quickly how unnecessary that was because not a lot of people are playing Mewtwo right now, and hopefully, if you find this deck fun, I would highly suggest using it. A little bit of testing, a little bit of play testing, and learning about like what matches go where. This deck, I find, is very useful. All right, so we were able to get out the Petrol, and I think we started the game, use it with Mewtwo in hand already, so like we were able to go Mewtwo and then 2 Tarountulas and then, or 3 Tarountulas to bench. Learning a little bit more of like, wait, this thing just kind of does what it needs to on its own, so why am I bothering to do XYZ things? Get rid of the extra energy so I don't have to play the extra energy so I can search out another card out of my deck, or realizing my other 2 Spidops are prized. Charge up, set up, and then we can just attack for damage. We should have put down the double colored energy, but I wasn't too hasty. I didn't want to use it on Mewtwo since we don't have energy. We didn't have energy switch at this point, so I was like, does this matter? Not really. And this was like one of our first matchups where we saw Charizard. And we remembered that Charizard was weak to grass, and that putting Mewtwo down is just not a good idea because Mewtwo is weak to Charizard. So you just don't put down Mewtwo. You solo prize this again by just using Spidops over and over and over again for that 180, which can just shoot down Charizard. And if you don't give them any 2 prizers, you take a single prizer into a 2 prizer and win with no issues. And again, if we have all the Pokemon on the board, Spidops does 180 damage. How much HP does Mew EX have? 180. So I just want to set up. I have Mewtwo, you know, I just keep getting all my Pokemon set up with charge up and then extra Spidopses, and I just put down the one of, and now we're doing 180. I think we were trying to figure out a way to Giovanni would have been better, but I didn't have the extra energy in order to set up another Spidops to take out the Charmeleon, which would have just won us the match anyway, because then he would have no Charizard. But in this instance, I couldn't do that, so we're off by so little. Like, that's the thing. This deck gets off by so little. Because Mewtwo EX hitting 280 is not the magic number. It's like 330 is now the magic number. If you can hit 330, then you can one-shot basically everything in the entire game. So, like, with the addition of Gravity Mountain, your 2 prizers, such as Charizard, let's say, is 300 HP. That's okay, you know? But we still only maximum 280 damage out of Mewtwo. So, like, Mewtwo is able to hit more than Spidops, but not enough for certain matchups, which is why he's, like, this close to being good. I'd say in a tournament run, like a big tournament run, he would do very, very well, being able to clear most, if not everything, outside of very specific matchups. Like, the bigger matchups where Pokemon are a little stronger, like Dragapult or whatever, that's why we added the second Mimikyu, to make that matchup a little bit better to deal with, because obviously, if you can hit Dragapult's attack twice, and they can't punish your bench, which, by the way, you just never put down an evolution Pokemon. You just wait until you need to put down evolution Pokemon, and then you play them. You can just sit on basics with Articuno on the bench, and if they don't clear the Articuno, you're like, cool beans, brother. Spidops 180, Spidops 180, and then you can take out a Dragapult. Or you can hit Spidops 180, Mimikyu 200 for your attack, with me using it, and then 6 damage counters to the bench, potentially knocking out a Pokemon and clearing so many things. But you guys see right here, obviously Charizard, not a threat to us. We never used, you know, we never used it at all, really, for Mewtwo. We just bring up, charge up, and then just call it a day using Spidops. We weren't actually able to get a knockout here, because we have to have our full bench of Team Rocket's Pokemon to basically auto-win. But our opponent also didn't have anything to answer this, and went with Pheasantipity as an answer, which I still don't quite understand, because yes, you can ping the 100, and he realizes his Charizard is damaged, and he can't attack with the Charizard, because my Spidops would knock him out. But, like, it didn't change much, because I had the answer with Mewtwo to deal with Pheasantipity. So maybe a better play for him would have been just letting a single prizer get knocked out, but it's whatever. Hit the 280, knock out the Pheasant, still get the damage, still get the win. And we're going into our last game. So you guys have seen Eevee Box, you've seen Charizard, you've seen Marnie's. All decks that are very much in our favor to win in every aspect. And it's like a 90% win chance on most of those things. This one was definitely a tough one. It is Tera Box, one of the decks that are very much up there. And just, you know, this is like right here is where I realize I'm like, I do not need negative effect cards like Counter Gain or, you know, Counter Catcher or, you know, or Defiance Band, not Counter Catcher, because like I was very rarely ever behind into the factor that I couldn't just go in and win, you know? I'm always ahead in these matchups, so like it doesn't feel necessary to run those cards. That's when we pulled them. Defiance Band is like the only one I'm up in the air about because it does help Mewtwo hit for that 310, which could take out certain cards like Guardy, stuff like that. But more importantly, it gives Spidops the tiny boost from 180 to 210, which can knock out Pheasantipity, Latias, certain Pokemon like that. So just the thought process behind that is very important. So I didn't expect him to be able to get that turn 1 knockout, so I'm like, oh no, what do I do? My only out to winning this is, you know, getting Mewtwo set up and then being able to KO, but I have nowhere to play around this because I was like, I guess he can't one-shot Mewtwo, so let's bring Mewtwo to the active, but not great. Obviously, I have everything set up for next turn, but he's going into my single prizers and clearing out my Spidops for extra damage, which doesn't change too much, but doesn't feel good, you know? Also, Mewtwo's damages are 160, 220, and 280. So sometimes some Pokemon are 230 or 240 HP, and it does cause issues with the damage for Mewtwo as well. Partially thinking of Vitality Band to hit that 230 for like Iron Hands or stuff like that, but the 10 damage never came up for anything except for that specific like inference there. So we never really used it. We actually hit the Genome, by the way, here because it counts as 2 energy and then the 4 energy from Teal Mask Ogerpon, so we were able to hit the 210. Just wanted to show off that can happen. Not very likely, but it can happen. And the other issue here, we did find out that Spidops has an ability and so does Mewtwo. So we can't do any damage to Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon unless you have Mimikyu, which is another big play that I found that having a second Mimikyu is insane. Same thing with Wobbuffet, where if they hit you for 140, they take out half your HP, but they can't knock you out with Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon. So you can take that damage, put out Wobbuffet, and then take the damage away, and then put it back on the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon. It's a long and gruesome task, but it is a possible thing to do. Unfortunately, they did realize they could just use Fan Rotom to take out Mimikyu, so like that sucks, but it's, you know, it's whatever. We're just bringing this stuff up. Right here is like, just I needed to get a shot in, and we're just going to set up other Pokemon and just start, you know, Wobbuffet's still there. If he wants to bring up the Cornerstone Mask, we can take that out for 2 prizing, getting my Mimikyu back, because it's another thing that I can use to attack the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon. I just need to get what I need to get. Taking away extra energy. I didn't need to get rid of 2. I did make a mistake. I didn't need to get rid of 2, but the only reason I did is because I still ran a second Night Stretcher in this, so I figured if I needed to, I can use Spidops energy, Spidops ability, and then use Night Stretcher to get a Grass energy out if I needed to for somebody else. But didn't change too much. We were looking for another Giovanni's here, I think, because I wanted to set up the Mimikyu and attack with it. Just didn't. We Erasure Ball, clear energy because I can still use the energy elsewhere, you know, if needed. Wobbuffet, I gave an extra Grass energy to, and then realized it says Psychic energy and got totally conflicted and went, oh shit, I need a Psychic energy to clear the Wobbuffet, and I don't have Psychic energy in this deck list. It needs Team Rocket energy to even attack, and that just blew my mind when that happened. So he hits me with the 140. I'm like, yo, easy, hit the Trips Retreat and go with Wobbuffet. Oh, shit, now what? Scramble, brain, figure something out, you can do it. Panic, hit the Transceiver, look at the deck. Okay, we have some energies left. Hit the Transceiver, mill cards out of my hand. Hit an Iono, give my opponent cards for some reason. Hit nothing for the 1 because it didn't matter anymore. Like, I panicked, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to clear it. I'm like, I can do something, I know. But don't worry. Everything was fine. We lost our guy, but it's okay. We still have 2 prize versus 1 prize. He can't take a 2 prizer. We just top deck the Mimikyu answer and just get the Genome, hit the 180, or the 140 and clear it. Obviously, we started making changes to the list, and you guys saw in our original image, we do run now 2 Psychic Energies for specifically that purpose, and we also added Energy Switch because we were having issues setting up Mewtwo EX with its big attack in one move. Now we can use Mewtwo EX, we can use Team Rocket Energy, we can use Spidops to get an energy from the discard pile to the board, and then Energy Switch to switch the energy off of the Spidops and onto Mewtwo. If it's necessary, you can do that. Otherwise, you can also use the Energy Switch to switch Psychic Energy off of Spidops onto Mimikyu, onto Wobbuffet. I guess technically even onto Murkrow, because Murkrow can still use Deceit. Now, hope you guys had a good idea of how to use the list. I hope you guys got some good information from me. I hope you guys use it a little bit and help me find out what is just barely missing to make this deck just a little bit stronger. I do feel that with the addition of Black Bolt, White Flare, where we get that new EX choice band, maybe it can help with Spidops' damage, because it only affects like the non-rule box Pokemon. If you haven't seen it, definitely check that out. But hey, if you guys find something that will help this deck be even stronger, just to deal with those big Pokemon that have higher HP that we cannot deal with so easily, let me know in the comment section below. Tell me if you guys like the deck. Tell me if you guys ran it with any tournaments and see what you guys, I want to know what you guys are doing with it. Hasta la pasta. I'll catch you guys in the next one.